Hello everybody, I am Shepples and welcome to Shepples Reviews Nox. Nox is an action RPG created by Westwood Studios and released in 2001. The game takes place in the world of Nox after the protagonist Jack, who was voice acted by Sean William Scott, Stifler from American Pie for those of you who might not know the actor by the real name, is sucked into a portal that appears in his trailer, whirling him on board the captain's airship. It is from there the captain brings Jack to the town in accordance to the player's choice of character class. As a warrior you start in the town of Dunmere, home of the Fire Knights. As a conjurer you arrive at the village of Ix, home of the Conjurers. And as a wizard you arrive near the home of Horvath, archmage of the world of Nox. The true beauty and creativity of Nox comes from the classes and their starting positions, as each class has their own unique storyline despite all of them being entangled in the same antagonist's world. They each also hold their very own and very different storylines that end differently. Events happen in each of the class's storyline that will not have happened in either of the other classes, giving a true sense of replayability, but at the same time, having played all three classes also fills in the gaps of the lore behind Nox and answers questions that may have been left in the lore from the other storylines. Overall, Nox is more about the story as opposed to being what I would refer to as a true-to-nature action RPG, such as Diablo, Sacred, Torchlight and the likes. While those games focus mostly on the action, leveling and character development, Nox is all about the story and how each character's story is different. Due to its action RPG style of gameplay, this gave off an instant reaction with gamers that it was simply a Diablo clone. With Diablo 2 literally only just being released a year before and the expansion that same year, this led to Nox being a very much misunderstood game and one that gamers generally avoided. This resulted in the game to sell poorly upon its release and effectively became almost forgotten over the years, and no doubt didn't help Westwood Studios in any shape considering they are no longer operational today. Despite the storyline being the key feature to Nox, the actual combat and gameplay are both pretty solid. The melee combat is fluent and easy to manage, and skills are just as equally easy. Spells work in a similar manner that are easy enough to also get the hang of. My only issue with combat and spells are ranged attacks such as bows and fireballs, requiring extreme accuracy on the player's behalf in order to be effective. This leads to frustration as it is extremely easy to miss your target from a long range due to the fast-paced speed of the game. Apart from that single one little issue in the combat, it is really flawless. Your three character classes also work quite differently from each other. The warrior, whom uses heavy armor melee attacks, has a selection of skills that unlock as they advance in level. These skills range from charge attack, warcry, grapples and the likes. The conjurer is a ranged class that attacks with the likes of bows and crossbows and wears medium armor, also having defensive and offensive spells, along with the ability to conjure and summon monsters. Spells are unlocked by either buying spellbooks from shops or by finding them, and each spell has a total of 3 levels of strength. The ability to summon up enemies is later unlocked in the Conjurer's storyline. The Wizard works similar to that of the Conjurer, but has some unique spells of their own, like that of the Conjurer, and they have the ability to place magical traps on the ground. They attack using staves and cannot wear armor. Though physically weak, they have the biggest energy pool and are extremely powerful with their spells, even more so than that of the Conjurer. The three classes' unique strengths and weaknesses lead to somewhat a different gameplay style and experience for each one, giving even more replayability to the game than that of the story differences is not already given. The only other issue I really have with the game, along with the ranged combat, is that of the final boss fight at the end with the Conjurer and Wizard. The warrior boss fight is really well designed and is challenging but not over difficult and keeps the fast-paced action going for the duration. However, the Conjurers and Wizards' final boss fights are very different. They require much more running around after the boss, and it really slows down the action and fast-pacedness of the game. With the Conjurer, the boss battle took me over 30 minutes, while with the Mage, though it was part my fault to a point, it took nearly 2 hours to kill. Along with that, the Wizard has a much greater difficulty to survive. and if it wasn't for the force field spell, the boss would be able to literally one-hit me, something that should never be the case with a final battle or any boss for that matter in a game. The beastry of the game is something of great importance in any action RPG. It may not be the largest ever. However, for the length of each class storyline, it is pretty perfect in number. The game has such monsters as urchins, small humanoid creatures, ogres, ogresses, spiders, skeletons, zombies, and so on and so forth. One of the unique things about one of the enemies in Nox is the zombie's inability to die unless completely destroyed. In order to kill a zombie, it must be completely destroyed using a fire spell or fire enchanted weapon. Any other method would result in it continuously getting back up, which is a true accurate approach to the legend of zombies. A little touch I simply loved. While on the topic of the enemies of the game, the enemy's AI is pretty decent. Unusual for a game of this style, most enemies will stop attacking and retreat upon becoming badly wounded, and will then return to attack once again their health has generated enough. Something that isn't generally the case in an action RPG style game. Along with that, you will have companions with you from time to time. They too will retreat when injured and follow the character well and not get him stuck, very often, like in some games. Like the beastry, the game doesn't have a great number of items, weapons and armour for an action RPG style game, but pretty much has the perfect amount of not too much but not too little, given a very satisfying amount of equipment throughout the storylines of each of the classes. Nox also has a very good sense of humour behind its dialogue. Often certain characters you meet throughout the game will do or say silly things or get themselves into ridiculous situations that you simply cannot help but chuckle at. Giving the game that extra bit of fun during those times when the action comes to a short halt. In my opinion, a bit of humour in a game can really add the icing to the cake, and it certainly does with Nox. The side quests, though few and again just the right amount for the game, are pretty basic but also fit in extremely well with the storyline and never just feel like they're simply there for the sake of being there, something that often happens in action RPGs and many other genres. The voice acting in the game isn't that bad either, with Sean William Scott performing well, even if he has limited dialogue, and the rest of the cast also doing amazing voice work, which truly brings the world of Nox alive, with each character you meet having their own unique personality. The soundtrack to the game is always perfectly fitting to the current event, situation or setting at hand, and along with that, quite catchy to the point that you'll find yourself humming the tracks without even realising it for some time after finishing the game. Even after you've finished the storylines with each character, the fun doesn't have to stop there, as it can continue with quest modes. This can be attempted solo or with friends, where you have to progress through level by level of various locations that are fixed as opposed to being randomly generated, slaying anything in your wake, including a boss at every 5 levels. With each level that you progress, enemies get stronger both in damage and health, but the rewards also get far better. This really does complete the game's replayability, along with the 3 unique storylines and character for simply hours and hours of fun. Overall, this is a unique action RPG style game which I believe should be explored more by game developers, as it is one that truly works. It gives the player an action RPG gameplay style with all the storyline goodness of a traditional, clever and well written RPG story. With 3 unique different character classes, each with different gameplay styles and different stories, a decent beastry, a decent amount of items, spells and skills, good humour, great voice acting and amazing replayability, there is nothing to dislike about Nox. With that said, I would happily give this game a 10 out of 10. Despite its little issues with ranged combat and the end bosses, this game is without a doubt a must play, for such a small issue can be easily forgiven. So if you love action RPG games, or games with a great story, then Nox is a must-have for you. And at the price of $5.99 on GOG.com, you really can't go wrong in any shape or form. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, and have fun.